Alright guys, welcome to lecture 4. Sorry for the delay between the episodes, just had some stuff on. But anyway, I was going to do IGLing, but I think it's more fitting to do DMRs after we just did ARs, so let's talk about DMRs and what we can do to improve these in pubs and in competitive gameplay. Alright guys, some of the fundamental skills we need to think about. So DMRs, for me personally, are quite simple, really. There's only really two aspects of DMRs, and that is hitting standing still targets and hitting moving targets. Obviously, hitting moving targets is a lot trickier, but hitting standing still targets is also very important, more important than people think. But when I think about DMRing, I'm thinking about patience. Waiting for players to stand still. Hitting a double headshot when someone is standing still is definitely easier than hitting a double headshot when someone is moving. So patience is definitely an important skill. Now, when you think about leading, leading takes time, guys. There's no secret sauce to leading. We just got to play and learn how to adjust and see where our bullets are traveling, see if we need to lead more or lead less. So really, leading is all about practice, and I'll show you a good method to improve this at a faster pace. Third, my bad. Consistency is key, right? When we're talking about playing with DMRs, we don't want to swap DMRs every game, right? Pick your favorite, and I'll go over some good ones and why we use different guns. But pick one gun and try and stick with that. You're going to learn the bullet drop. You're going to learn the bullet speed a lot quicker if you play with the Mini 14 every game, or you play with the MK every game, or the SLR, the Dragunov. But try and keep it consistent. You don't really want to be using all 4 DMRs at a time. In competitive, it might be different. If you only get one DMR, that's the one you have to use. But if we're playing pubs, let's try and focus on getting one type of DMR. That's going to help you guys the most, and let's just focus on practicing on that one. Now, the fourth thing is just what I said at the start, learning to shoot standing still targets. Now, a lot of people miss standing still targets. Hell, I even miss standing still targets sometimes. But this is one of the most important aspects of the game, right? In PUBG, people tend to stand still when they shoot, right? This is when players are most vulnerable, and a lot of people in public matches do this, right? It's very easy to knock someone who is standing still. But hitting 2 bullets in a row can be challenging for some players, as the jump might be, the bullet like jump and the recoil might be a little bit more than you were expecting, right? We're going to learn how to shoot standing still targets through an exercise I'll show you guys later on. But if we can master standing still shots, I promise you, you're going to get more knocks on average, and you're definitely going to feel like when someone is in the open, you're going to damage them or knock them a lot more consistently. Now, the last one, which personally I'm the worst at, and I wish someone would yell at me when I do this, is knowing when to reset your DMR shots. When you tap a DMR, the recoil is quite consistent. It's a bounce, and learning when to bounce and then reset is very important. Now, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about when you start whiffing. And trust me, I whiff with DMRs quite a lot because I play the game quite a lot. You need to understand when enough is enough. And if you shoot 10 bullets in a row and you haven't missed a single, and you haven't hit a single one, just take a breath, take a step back, reset, and then go again. Once you reset the recoil pattern, it'll be a lot easier to hit the targets, and if you refocus on where you need to lead, you'll definitely hit more bullets. I'm going to quickly talk about the DMRs. Just want to say huge shout out to Wacky Jackie. I put his YouTube and his Twitter in the bottom right hand corner. If you want to see his full spreadsheet, which is awesome content, please go look at his stuff. I will put the link in my description for you guys to look at. But there's really only 5 DMRs that we're going to consistently get. We have the SKS, the Dragunov, SLR, Mini, and the MK. Some would argue that the VSS, but if you're using the VSS, don't talk to me. That gun is disgusting. But when we talk about each of the guns, each of them have their specialties and their weaknesses. Now, for me personally, I think there's only really 2 viable guns, but we'll get to that later. But anyway, the Dragunov is a very high damage, a high impact gun. The SLR is very consistent, and it's good at lots of ranges. I think SLR does quite a lot of damage. It's kind of the same tier as the Dragunov. The Mini and the MK have very good bullet speed. Like, they shoot very fast. They're a lot easier to lead because of this bullet speed, and their drop off not nearly as bad as the 7.62 guns. As far as the SKS lovers, the SKS is by far the worst DMR. It has the worst win rates in the game. So I wouldn't recommend using the SKS. I think the Dragunov and the SLR are just objectively better in every sense. So of the 5 DMRs, there's only really 4 you should be using, and it's the Dragunov, SLR, Mini, and MK. But I will discuss the meta in the next slide. But once again, huge shout out to Wacky Jackie. Want to give him credit for all the amazing work he's done. So yeah, the full document is in the description. So when we talk about metas and the competitive meta right now, in my opinion, there's two guns that kind of outshine the rest. There's always been two groups of players in competitive, and that is the 5-5 players and the 7-6 players. Each player kind of molds their style, but I think there's benefits with both, and they're both equally as good in the right hands. So for me personally, I at the moment have become a bad boy for the MK. I really like this gun. It's basically a better mini in my opinion if you know how to use it, but it has very consistent damage, it has a large magazine, it's efficient at kill stealing, it has higher damage than mini, so it's just a better mini. Its bullet drop is a little more than the mini, but that's okay because we don't need to focus on shooting things too far away. And the leading is going to be harder because of this too. So the leading is definitely harder than the mini, and that's because of the bullet drop and the bullet speed. Now the Dragunov, on the other hand, why is the Dragunov also in the meta? And I personally think the Dragunov is the most broken DMR at the moment. And the reason for that is because it has very high damage and it is so impactful. Getting that one-tap headshot within 100 meters, it opens up games, it opens up picks for the team. So I seriously think having one player on every team with a Dragunov is super important because those impact knocks can do a lot. But yeah, as the advantages say, it's very strong in close quarters combat. Like if you're in 100 meters and you one tap someone, you can just steamroll that team pretty quickly. The only problems with the Dragunov, in my opinion, oh my gosh, is that it requires an extended mag. Having only 10 bullets is pretty rough, so you really need an extended mag, but just ask your teammate for one. It's pretty bad at long distance. Like, it does no damage to knocks at long distance. It's so hard to flush kills if you see them very far away, which is why sometimes I think the MK might be better because it's a more well-rounded gun. And then obviously because of this, it also has very bad bullet drop, which does in turn affect leading as well. But the bullet drop on this gun is pretty insane. It's kind of the same as all 7.6 guns. So yeah, these are the two guns that I definitely think are the best. So if you want to pick one, go for it. If you like the mini, awesome. I also love the mini sometimes. If you like the SLR, that's great too. So just make sure we pick one. And but these are the two meta ones in competitive, in my opinion. Alright, so I personally think there's probably more, but I reckon 5 core ways to practice DMRs and improving our DMRs. So, the first one, which I think is the best, is the training mode routine that I do. And the reason I think this is the best is because I think it's very easy to do. I think it requires not much time, and it does yield results quite quickly. So, I will show that in the next slide. The second one is TDMs. I've put a minus in here. It's not amazing. There's really only one good TDM map, and that's the Tago Fields. And even then, people don't use DMR sometimes. But there's only really one good TDM map for DMRs. The third system is the buddy system, and I'll also give you guys a rundown on that and some visuals so you can see how that is. But that does require someone to do some work for you, so make sure you take turns. The fourth one is Aim Labs. Honestly, Aim Labs doesn't do that much. Like, Aim Labs is more of a warm-up for PUBG, purely because of how recoil works in this game. But Aim Labs is something you can do. Focusing on, like, 6-shot ultimate or stuff that is just focused on precision is really handy, and it might help in the long run. And then, of course, pubs. Just playing the game and shooting players is definitely and always going to be one of the best ways to improve. The reason I only have 1+ here is because you might not get that much action per game, so the amount of value you get in a time frame might not be as high as number 1 or number 3. So we'll get into those right now so you can see how they look. Alright, so step 1 for the routine is we're going to come to this position on the map, which is the jump school. So if you look at it in the training mode, this is where the jump school is. You can just click on it and it will teleport you right up front. And then we're going to take the parachute and we are going to land on this rock up here. So just above the QCQ range. Make sure you get on top of the rock. If you don't, just do it again. But that's the first step that we need to do. Once we've landed up on this rock, we can begin the first part of the routine. So when we think about DMRing, there's only really 2 aspects of DMR practice, and that is hitting targets that are standing still and hitting targets that are moving. So in order to become a more competent DMR player, we really need to master hitting standing still targets, because you believe it or not, a lot of people do miss standing still targets. Even I do sometimes. So we want to practice this, and the way we're going to practice this is by simply getting on top of this rock, and we're going to look for AFK players in our training mode. So for example, this player right here, he's not moving. All we're going to do is equip our favorite DMR. Remember what we talked about, consistency and picking one DMR and sticking with it is probably the best thing you can do in terms of creating muscle memory. But we're going to pick our DMR. You can use attachments. You know me, I like making it difficult for myself. But we're simply going to find the AFK player and we are going to try and hit them twice in the head. So all we're doing is just trying to shoot 2 bullets relatively quickly and hit both of them, right? This exercise focuses on precision. We're not really too worried about, hitting fast. We're not worried about that. We're worried about hitting both our bullets and just making sure we're hitting the targets that are standing still. Now, this seems really simple and really stupid, but I promise you, this is how I personally got better at hitting standing still targets, and hitting standing still targets is a huge component of the game. You'd be surprised how many people just AFK when they shoot. So just making sure we can hit both the headshots is super important. If you can do this once a day or like once a week, you will see improvement in your DMRs and you will definitely hit more shots on average. One more exercise that I like doing, and I don't think this one is that good, but I think it's just good to get your muscle memory in check. But something I like doing is shooting these little targets, and this is found in the QCQ practice range. So if you click right here, it'll take you straight to the range, and all we're doing is left leaning and then right leaning, and we're simply going from each one, and we can speed up as we get better. We don't have to go slow the whole time, we can speed up. But we're just getting used to putting our crosshair and our scope on a target that we want to shoot and get used to moving and leaning while doing this at the same time. This isn't a fantastic exercise, but it's definitely something if you want to do that little bit more. This is the buddy method. All it requires is one person to help you, and you're just going to get them to run at different ranges to figure out the leading for each type of range and get your visual indicator of how far away someone is and how much you need to lead. So for example, right here we have Halsey, one of my Twitch mods, just running in a straight line for me, and I'm simply going to lead. I'm going to visualize where my bullet is going. So if I'm overleading like this, I can see where my bullet is going, and then I can adjust. Same principle goes for underleading, right? And now a really good tip is that is to focus on one or the other. I personally prefer the 6x. I feel like I hit a lot more bullets with this scope, and they've recently added in a few patches ago, you can zero on the 6x now, which was the main advantage of the 8x. So one of the best bindings you can do for the 6x is control and scroll wheel for zeroing. Now this is super helpful, especially for longer distances, because if you are able to just put your crosshair where the target is instead of leading up, it will help you quite a bit. So yeah, control scroll wheel is a great keybind if you don't have one. Most people have it on page up and page down, which is very obnoxious to click. So yeah, guys, this is one of the best methods to improve leading, and all it takes is one friend to run in a straight line for you, and it's very easy to see where your bullets are going to know if you need to lead more or lead less. So hopefully this improves your leading. Alright guys, that concludes this episode. Thank you so much for watching. Now, I have removed the homework because only a few people are doing it, so all my students are quite lazy, but that's okay, I am too. But if you guys want to support me and help me continue making these videos, I don't really ask so much. Maybe just come to my Twitch chat when I stream and just say thank you. That makes my day. You can do the same, follow me on Twitter, support me and my team, that would be amazing. If you want to go above and beyond, you can use my creator code, which is FLOOD. That's not a big deal if you don't though. And then something else I wanted to mention is I do paid team sessions. I coach a lot of OS teams, but I'm willing to coach any team, so please reach out to me on either Twitter or YouTube comments if you want to get in touch. But I do charge for these, but I think it's pretty affordable compared to industry standards, I guess. But yeah, let me know if you are interested in that, but I'm more than happy. I do it for only teams. I think individual coaching is a little bit of a waste of time because there's not much I can teach you, and I want you to get value. I don't really care about the money. It's just about buying me some food after my session. That's all I really care about. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next episode.